Greetings. Welcome to Wake the Dead. Today we are very happy to revisit not revisit, this is the first time on the show, but we're going to be looking at a classic topic in the conspiracy realm, and that is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger with our good friend William Ramsey. Welcome, William.
Sean, great to be with you. Thanks for the invite. It's good to talk with you again.
Awesome. Yes, so this is, it's connected to Kubrick film and The Shining. We have, and I think you're going to talk about that. So, and it's in the film Conspiracy Theory, which you spoke with the PsyOp Cinema guys about that. And so this has been like in the realm of like just Hollywood from what I mentioned there, but it comes up in a lot of places, and it seems almost unexpected, but after this research, I'm guessing it will be expected. It will seem obvious, and you will illuminate us, please, with your information that you've dug up.
Yeah, this is incredible. We've talked about it in your presentations with Kubrick, like you mentioned, but I really did some research. I did a show back in April of 2024 because I was bickering with somebody online as usual, and they're like, "Oh, Catcher in the Rye didn't have that much to do with Lennon." And in my mind, I was like, I think it had everything to do with Mark Chapman, and because I remembered this, I remembered the story of him supposedly killing Lennon in December of, I think it was 1980, at the Dakota, right off of Central Park in Manhattan, and going and sitting down and reading The Catcher in the Rye. So I had just done some shows. Mind Games was one about Lennon. So I went back and reread, and it was like, it's worse than that. Chapman thought he was the main character. He morphed into Holden Caulfield of Catcher in the Rye and made public statements that he was the Catcher in the Rye, much like Holden Caulfield wants to become in the book. And so I did a show then, and then I also saw there was a movie, a documentary that came out about Kubrick, which is the Clockwork Shining or whatever, that came out with Ryder Lee. They had Joe Atwell in there. And then I did a show, and I was like starting to research, and I was like, wow, I read the book again. So I had read it when I was younger and had no clue about what's going on. I read it with this kind of my paranoid mindset that I've had just from analyzing films and, like you said, conspiracy theory. And this book is really crazy dangerous. Like, I am shocked that this is even out in the public. How sophisticated it was in 1951 as a piece of literature. Now, this is a vaunted book. This is supposed to be, Holden Caulfield is this anti-hero, alienated guy who's a kind of like taken on this kind of, coming of age, buildings romance kind of story of this young man. But when you read Catcher in the Rye with this kind of older lens, he's out of his freaking mind. He ends up in a mental institution. He's talking to you from what you realize at the last chapter, there's 26 chapters, is he's talking to you from a mental institution. So you're literally watching somebody. The background of the story is he gets kicked out of his private school. He's a rich kid, kicked out of his fourth private school, and doesn't want to tell his parents, but goes back to visit his 10-year-old sister, Phoebe, who he really adores. She kills him. That's the terms that he uses. He uses distorted terms all through the book. So you see this theme of distorting reality. But it's, and he bounces around through his friends and places and things like that. He goes to the Natural History Museum. He goes to the Carousel in Central Park. So Central Park is a central place in this book, which is really fascinating because Chapman and Dakota are in Central Park, where a lot of the stuff take place in this book. And the story of Chapman and the killing of Lennon is he's wandering around Central Park all the time, like Holden Caulfield. So anyway, so it really this became a really important part of American history. And this book has sold, Sean, it's unbelievable. 65, according to Grok, 65 million copies worldwide. So this is a massive cultural event. Salinger, we know, like his history has been done. He became a recluse, but this was his most famous book, and he didn't really publish. There was Franny and Zoe, but his other works were not as well received. But this one is, his supposed, the great American novel. But we know Salinger was in World War II. He was in a mental institution. So we know that he was in a mental institution for like what they called shell shock or whatever like that. But he was also an intel officer who was debriefing a lot of Nazis. He's kind of like ferreting out Nazis from France and things like that. There's actually a picture, and I'll show this here, of him landing in Normandy. So he's in part of the Normandy invasion in 1944. But we know that he had relationships with this young girl. So there is a theme of pedophilia in this book, which is pretty, I mean, risk these days. I mean, our culture's like gone down the sewer, but I think that this is like a stepping stone down this into the sewer, is this relationship between Holden Caulfield and his sister Phoebe. So I think the pedophilia aspect, there's other aspects. Joe Atwill has discerned other Masonic influences in this book that I would never have understood. I'm not a Mason, but like there's a thing where he goes back into Egypt, and that's like what the cultists do and stuff like that. There's mummies and steps, and he's walking in a straight line, and all these, he indicates that this book is seeded with all kinds of concepts and things that are very sophisticated. And even when I talked to Hans Uter about it, psycholinguistics, I think, is very sophisticated in this. And this repetitive terms, like there's like psychic driving in this, which is really crazy. So there's repeated phrases and words. Just for a background, Holden Caulfield, all the words and stuff in this is very important. So call, for people, and I'll show this in the slides here in just a sec. Call is like when a baby is born, I think it's part of the placenta comes over the face. And in old cultures, that was seen as like giving you gifts, like a spiritual gift or second sight. So Holden Caulfield the name is important. So Caul, call, and then the field references this catcher in the rye. So the catcher, the rye is the field. So he's part of this whole mythos, like his name, like hold on to the catcher in the rye, hold on to the Caulfield or whatever. So it's very clever. I think it's very clever. And so, I mean, we can just go into the text first and then its effect through the modern culture.
So this is like a device. This is like a tool. It's not really a book that people are to read and enjoy as a book. It's like it's set upon our culture as a device to bend culture towards deviance and Satanism generally.
I believe so. I believe that's part of this whole thing. It actually started early, 1951. Right. We were talking in the pre-show that we've done shows on Kinsey, by the way, if people are listening to this. And Kinsey's also another culture creation. So this is happening at the same time as Kinsey. And these ties kind of unfold to you when you see what's in the book in the Kinsey section. I think it's called Sex and the American Male, Sex and the Human Male or something was his book. It was 48. So you see ideas in that from that in this book, which is pretty incredible. Which is also, I think Kinsey, like Crowley, they came to the same conclusion. There's no limitation or any. There's no liberty means sex, total sex with anything. And you can just be bisexual, trisexual, pedophile.
Well, it works well with the blackmail when you're getting the sexual histories of everybody. Right. That's what both Kinsey and Crowley were doing. I mean, come on.
Kinsey, Crowley, and Hubbard, and all these people are doing the same kind of thing. Yeah. Hubbard's coming up around this. It's coming up around this time.
Catholicism.
Yeah, that confession. Imagine if all those confessions are recorded.
Yeah.
Okay, would you like to confess? Let me just hit the record button. Go. Tell me your worst, darkest sins. Let's go.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But
right.
I mean, they actually have files in Scientology that on you. They keep the file, and they did it. Actually, it went all the way up into NXIVM too. NXIVM did the same technique.
Right. And then NXIVM did the branding that Crowley did branding,
right.
Next
Good
level.
Point. Yeah. No, all the stuff is the same. You're really right. But I mean, I should go and revisit NXIVM because it's just that cult, like the traditional cult behavior goes from, and he apparently had a lot of Scientology stuff in there and OTO and Crowley too. It was, what was the guy's name of NXIVM? I can't remember it. Anyway,
Keith Raniere,
yeah. Mr. 210 IQ. That's what he said. that's what Hubbard did. Like he was the source. Like he was so bright and so brilliant.
Dude, I'll tell you, I went to Narconon for cannabis, getting over cannabis. But anyway, I went to Narconon in and it's Scientologist, and it's run by Scientologists, and they promised that they weren't going to try to convert me and shit. But like, they're like doing the interview where they're like, "Oh, you're a photographer? L. Ron Hubbard was a photographer." Like,
Wow.
whoa, yeah. And like the lady that ran the place, like she believed she was one of the 4,000 souls or whatever they got put in the volcano, and
wow.
yeah, and she would drink calcium magnesium. It's like this liquid, and it makes you like have diarrhea basically, like. And they would give us a little bit of it and make us sit in the sauna and like try to like get our systems clear of all the drugs.
They're into flushing, like you're trying to cleanse yourself.
Right.
They use niacin.
She would, niacin too. Yep,
Yeah.
I remember that. They would give us niacin. They make us run before we go in the sauna, and then we'd be in the sauna all day. Get out after 45 minutes, go jump in the ocean, then get back in the sauna.
Bro, you did a rundown. You did some Scientology stuff,
dude.
You were in a mind control for whatever, for how long.
I was safe though. It's all good because I would just laugh at them when they tried to, come at me. But
when you come out the other side, you're inoculated though. That's
right. I know all their tricks now. Yeah, like she would drink a full glass of like a pint of CalMag. Like they would make us drink a little bit. She would like go to we'd be in the sauna and we'd look through the door, and she'd just walk in, go up to the cooler, grab it out, pour a full glass and guzzle it, and just walk out. Like, oh my God. Like we thought maybe she was an alien, like, because who does that? So like, I mean, anyway, like it was quite an experience. And yeah,
it all comes back to this time.
Yes.
Kinsey, Hubbard, Salinger. Salinger has to be seen as part of this whole culture creation. This is a very dark book. It's totally crazy. Like, I mean, I'm in shock. It starts out with him at Pensy. It's in a fake city in Pennsylvania, but he's literally sitting on top of a hill, and he says it's colder as a witch's teat. So he's starting off on a hill that he's symbolizing as the breast of a witch. So
have you heard, sorry to interrupt, but have you heard of Ross Ben?
That name sounds familiar.
He talks about the geomancy, and he's from Philadelphia. He talks about ley lines and all that type of stuff.
Sounds familiar.
Ancient history, very smart individual. Philadelphia is like a main hub, and it's got a huge amount of power there, and that's why there was such activity there with all the Freemasons and stuff in the beginning of the country.
That was I think that was it, right? Wasn't didn't Franklin he was a Mason, right?
Yeah,
and a member of the Hellfire Club,
right? Yeah, and the skeletons in his yard and all that crap dug up. But anyway,
do you know that he had like tons of illegitimate children in France? Like,
I'm sure
30 or something crazy. Like,
I mean, why else would he go to France all that time?
Like, he was just rolling through women. I mean, this is not.
Well, he's a famous American guy. Whoa,
yeah,
you got a glass harmonica. Anyway, sorry.
It all kind of ties in. It's good to set the culture, because this happened in this kind of post-war culture. This kind of move didn't start with the 60s. This is part of it for me.
Right. Well, this opened up the 60s, right? You had to have Kinsey, and you had to, I guess, have J.D. Salinger to bend the society just enough to introduce the 60s, because you couldn't have had all that free love and like leaving your wife and all that,
So I think I could trace Kinsey to the start of the gay rights movement, all that stuff, Harry A. A lot of Curly's around that.
Right. And that stuff is connected to the pedophilia stuff. Like, no offense, guys, but,
there was a fight within the gay community whether to include NAMBLA in one of their parades or something. And Harry A's like, they're a part of the gay community. Like, NAMBLA is part of it. So this guy's like fully on board with this Kinsey kind of stuff. And I just posted like a bunch of stuff about Kinsey on my X, so people can check that out. But like his like graphs, the infamous graph 32.
Yeah, table 34. I think there's a few, but there's like 33 and 34. Yeah, 32. Yeah. 34 was the one with the 12-month-old for like 24 hours or whatever. Like, disgusting what they did to them.
Unspeakable depravity. Like, he's sick. Orchitis, that's how he died. He literally tied a rope around his testicles and he put it over a rafter and yanked on it and like tore his internal organs up, and they turned into a big pus ball and he croaked. Like, that's how he died. It's a perfect way to go out. It's a perfect way to go out. It's almost like some kind of
It just shows exactly
thing,
how this is the guy. If you want sex advice, that's the guy to go to.
I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
here's the
He
thing: is
also
like,
circumcised himself in a bathtub with a penknife.
yeah, no, he's out
Like
of his mind,
what?
dude. He's
Like
not
this
well.
dude is crazy. Yeah.
He is crazy. But like in the people who I talk with, this Kinsey's a total freak and has been discredited. But some people I talk to are like, people are still referencing Kinsey as a legit source, and I'm surprised. They're in a completely different mental terrain. TV watchers or something are going on. Like, it's just like
that foundation or whatever that he started. They still won't give any information to the police from all of the pedophiles. They got all their testimonies from. They still won't give it up.
They won't give their research to third parties.
Pedophiles.
They won't give their quote science to third parties to validate. So it's
because
just
everybody will go
Rockefeller funded fake baloney crap.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
And this is a question too about how this book actually materialized, because I went through Francis Stoner Saunders' book, The Cold War and the CIA, which we'll see at the very end of this presentation. And it sounds like there were CIA fronts that were supporting Salinger. So that this may have been enough. I mean, I believe that this is culture creation, as all the indicators, and the support for this book is incredible. Like, why are people supporting this? And there was a big kind of hubbub about putting this book into the school system. And I can see why, dude. It is dark.
Next, so they'll put Lolita in. They'll be putting Lolita in next. Yeah.
Let's go through the text. Like, he is going through this transformation. Holden Caulfield. He's grown 3/6 inches, so he's transforming. And he goes into this whole concept, the Finder's concept of life as a game. So he's depersonalizing and desensitizing himself from reality. Everybody's phony and fake. And that has kind of like, oh, it's cool. Like, he thinks they're fake. But it also has this thing where they're not even persons. So he's like not seeing these people as real persons. And there's all kinds of crazy repetitive statements. He talks about split brain on page 13. So there's dissociative states in this. He's in the care of a psychiatrist at age 13. So he has never really been well. He talks about Dr. Thurman. One of the things you'll see this theme of the ducks in this movie. You'll see the theme on the cover of the books. He doesn't know where the ducks go in Central Park. Where do the ducks go? So these concepts of like, well, the ducks obviously fly south for the winter, right? He doesn't get where they go. Like he's not thinking right. So he has, and it goes through. So he's schizo. On page 19, there's a repetitive phrase. These phrases get repeated in paragraphs, I think, very cleverly and intentionally. But one is you will, you will, you will, you will. Like these kind of things.
It's like Crowley shit. Like,
yeah, no, it's incredible.
Yeah. Do you think that this is well, here, let you continue, please. I'm sorry.
Let's just go through the whole book. So then he wears this red hat, which we'll see. It's a people hunting hat. I wear a people shoot. This is the repetitive phraseology. I wear a people shooting hat. I shoot people with this hat. So at a first glance, the symbol is like, oh, he's wearing this weird hunting hat, this rich kid. But in his own mind, he's a people hunter. And his brother dies and he goes and breaks window. He says to himself, I didn't know what I was doing. So he's not self-aware. He's not self-aware of his actions. And there's a theme of nihilism that goes through this entire book. It's really incredible.
It sounds like a split personality person that has been programmed and repeating their programming back and like doing the programming and how they think on the inside. You know,
if you get the chance, read this book. I would like your take on actual when the knowledge of you, and you've had all those people on who've been
thank you,
SRA and Michael Draw.
Right.
You will be tripped out because he's fascinated and scared by blood. He mentions his blood. There's very vivid terminology. Kill. My dad is going to kill me. She kills me. But it's also inappropriate. The thing is that the thinking isn't clear. So like he's using terms and things like that wouldn't be in there. And he repeats, I can do a word search. He repeats, I'm a madman. I'm like a madman. He keeps saying this to himself that he's insane.
Right.
And he talks to this one person and he's like, I put her into a trance. I literally uses the word trance in this book. Like, so they're talking about different mental states.
Right. Yeah. Like putting on the different hat is like wearing the programming of the, okay, I'm accepting that programming now. Now my thinking is doing this. You know what I mean? Like, it
It's an
sounds like that
important
type of situation.
it's an important symbol in this book.
Mm,
It's a very
okay.
important symbol because that hat, the 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 arc of this thing is to go see his sister at their apartment in New York City, and she takes the hat and
Hmm.
holds on to it and then gives it back to him in Central Park. But there's this. I have a brain tumor. He's a pyromaniac. He likes to take matches and burn them all the way down to burn his hand, and then do it over and over again. He has almost every kind of mental problem. Like he's paranoid, he's schizo, he thinks he has a brain tumor. He's capable of lying for hours. Like I can just, he call it gassing people. I can gas people for hours. So he's a known liar and BS artist.
Wow.
So there's all these weird mental states. There's also every sexual what would be called, I don't know, depravity to these days. There's nothing like depraved, but back in those days, they go through. He says the world's full of perverts and morons, but there's transvestitism, homosexuality, pedophilia, voyeurism. I mean, just all this stuff like that. And he has a totally negative view of the world. People are always ruining things for you. So it's never his fault. It's always somebody else. But get this, sadism, masochism. There's like one sequence where he goes, a woman's body is a violin.
Wow.
Like these are really profound like statements throughout this book. Like it's off the charts.
So Lolita was released around the same time as well, and that one, the narration comes from a pedophile, and it's a
Right.
very
Humbert or whatever his name
Humbert, right? And this is
1955 is Lolita.
right. It's a little bit later, right? But it's kind of in the same push right before the '60s, where it's like, okay, you can think through the eyes of these characters, right? They give you. This one gives us the crazy person, and Lolita gives us the pedophile. And the pedophile in Lolita knows he's doing wrong, knows he's hurting the girl. You know, the book is way worse than the movie, and it's a 12-year-old, not 16 or whatever in the movie. And so it gets, and it's very flowery language, very well written, and it makes you like it. You know. It's a good book, right? But it's disgusting, and you don't want to read it, but it's good. So that's how they're pushing it. That's how they're putting it in. And if this is similar, like I expect it to be the same. And
Yeah, well, there is a very strong element. I mean, this is the more literary, subtle thing of pedophilia, but I think it's more creeping in this book because we'll
right.
get to that part of Holden Caulfield. He's 16, his sister's 10, but she acts. This whole pedophile is like these people. The pedophile's justification is that they're actually old people and this is an abuse and there's no inequality of the personality, right? They're not like, sensitive little kids. They're just like adults. That's the way we treat them.
Right.
And that's their internal rationale. And that's duplicated in this book. He's talking to his sister, but she talks at a very high level. She knows Robert Burns. She quotes literary poetry. She understands her brother. So she's like talking to him almost like an older sister. So the character of Phoebe isn't this kid with a teddy bear or some kind of stuffed animal. It's like an adult talking to Caulfield, and that's the way the pedophiles think about it.
Plus, like, he is like mentally inferior, I guess, right? You know what I mean? He is a dumbed down level. And so his experience compared to her is probably more along the same line. Her being
he's super sophisticated. He knows good word. He knows language. He uses the word bourgeoisie. He has good taste. He understands luggage, clothing, and things like that. And only class that he gets A's in or passes is literature. He flunks everything else. So I think they're setting Holden Caulfield up as kind of like somebody who's like verbal skills or linguistic skills are more advanced than you would think. One of the other things in this book is it's anti-Christian. So you have this anti-Christianity theme. Who does Holden Caulfield empathize with? He knows the Bible. He thinks that all of the apostles are fake. Like, why would they do this? And the person that he identifies as is one specific small passage in the Bible, which I think is Mark something, where this legion who's possessed by demons, that's the person he empathizes with. This person who's literally demon possessed. He literally says, and then they ask a question, is Judas going to hell? So they present this question where Judas is the great betrayer of Christ, right?
Yeah, why would he care if Judas goes to hell unless he's along the same line as Judas and like he's asking about himself, really, you know? And it's interesting because I've been thinking about the Joker a lot because I'm about to do a show with the PSYOP Cinema guys there, and like that is about demon possession, like both movies. It's
so there's this theme of like possession in this. He sympathizes. In the Bible, it says, this is like Mark. Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Legion," he replied, "for we are many." And he begged Jesus again and again not to send him out of the area. And a large herd of pigs was feeding on the nearby hillside. The demons begged Jesus, "Send us among the pigs. Allow us to go into them." He gave them permission, and the impure spirits came out and went into the pigs. The herd, about 2,000 in number, rushed down the steep bank into the lake and were drowned. So that's who Holden Caulfield identifies, literally possessed by multiple demons. So they're putting in this book. He's crazy, he's suicidal, he's murderous. And then the real key of this whole thing is this catcher in the rye, right? This is this kind of mysterious phrase. What is he doing? He's referencing a Robert Burns poem, but he's referencing it wrong, much like you can't understand the ducks. The real phrase of the Robert Burns poem is, "If a body catch a body coming through the rye," and he inverts it into a catcher. So he becomes this catcher. He's gonna, and there's this whole thing about it. He's gonna be in the rye, and it's a focus on kids. He's gonna catch the kids before they go over the cliff. So that's his kind of like reason for living, is to try to save and catch these kids. And he gets really upset, like after seeing all of this like horrible stuff. At the very end, he gets really angry because he sees the words "F you" up on a wall, and he wants to kill the guy. Like his response is murderous, like it's flat out crazy. He hates everything. "I swear to God, I'm a madman." He says Jesus would have puked. There's this guy Luce who's a sex, so that's the theme of like sexuality in this. This guy Luce talks about gays and homos. And they have different words for that time, flitty. So we'll see that once I get to this. He's a chain smoker. He pinches his sister's behind. So like there's this, she's on the bed too. So that when they're communicating, there's this theme of a bedroom. So that's like a subtle, well, maybe not even that subtle, but like they're not in some kind of sterile environment. Right. He's in his bed with her on the bed. He puts a pillow over her face. Like there's really dark elements of this. But he also, when he's talking to her, he's dissociating. So the conversation, and you have to read the text. I mean, I could go into it, but when you go into the text, it's like, and then I saw my sister on the bed, and then it made me think about being back at school with Stratlater and Ackman, and we were fighting. And then I saw Phoebe get up from the bed and go walk over to her desk. Like, it's crazy. Like they're displaying to you how schizo this guy is. Right. Anyway, the last chapter of the book, 26, is he is in a mental institution. He breaks the fourth wall, and he says to the audience, "I don't know why I'm telling you any of this. I don't even know if it has any meaning." Like he literally, it's this nihilistic. He's learned nothing from all of his adventures. He's not come to a conclusion for good or bad. Like, I had a terrible time. I had a great time. I don't even know. You got to listen to this. It's off the charts.
You should go hang out in the pool in the Big Lebowski.
Yeah, maybe.
Good up your Johnson Lebowski.
Let me see if I can get to the very end of this book. I'll read it to you. It's really something else.
Here
it is.
Just real quick. The demon possession and the DID, dissociative identity disorder thing, being connected and interplaced. That is important, I think, because now with this new Joker movie, they're pushing dissociative identity disorder and mental splitting. And again, with the Shyamalan movie there, with the split where the person has like 4 different identities and they're doing bad stuff. And I think this is the new push where they're going to tell everybody that don't worry, it's just the fragmented selves of the person. And then that takes away all the guilt of the demon that's actually riding their body at the time. Like what we learned from Jerry Marzinski, that the voices plaguing schizophrenics are separate entities draining energy from their victim, the human. And so, and demon possession is a demon riding in the flesh of a human, right? And so if that demon is the one doing all the bad deeds, and then he jumps out of the flesh again, and then the human person gets all the guilt, and then that totally erases the idea of the spiritual, any kind of connection with non-corporeal entities, and evil will from the other side, like plaguing humans. It erases all of that, so it makes everybody look at this thing over here. But if we look at the SRA and a lot of that, they would demonize the children through ritual. They would put the demons in there, so to help with the splitting and to help keep the partitions of the mind. Whether you believe in it or not, it could just be they told the kid and made the kid believe there's a demon in there. I mean, it could go either way, I guess. Like it's tough to know that because I'm not really one of those victims. But in any case, like this demonization and the DID has been connected since a long time. So this here, the J.D. Salinger, is kind of a revelation of that in the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's mentions of split brain, splitting headaches, things like that. He flies off the handle and attacks people. That demon possession thing is incredible. Right. But like, here's the end. This is like full nihilism. I don't know what the hell to say. If you want to know the truth, I don't know what to think about it. No, he says, what I thought about all the stuff I just finished telling you about. So he breaks the fourth wall. I think he does it at the beginning and the end. I'm sorry I told so many people about it. All I know is I sort of miss everything. I don't know what to think about what happens to him. So he's not learning something. He doesn't have that kind of internal, the dialogue's there, but the like learning element is really not there. That's what's crazy.
It's funny because kids had to learn this or they had to read this for high school. And even in the book, you're learning nothing. What is the use of this? And why do we have to do this for homework?
That's perfect. Let's segue right to South Park.
There has been a change in school policy, and so I'm assigning you all a book to read.
A book? God, I hate those.
Now, kids, this book is very controversial and has just been taken off the banned books list.
Oh, really? Sweet.
It's called Catcher in the Rye, and it has some very risque parts.
All right.
And strong, vulgar language. And in fact, many schools across the country still ban this book because it's thought to be so inappropriate.
Oh, man, I can't wait.
Tonight I want you to read chapters 1 through 5, and tomorrow we'll discuss the...
No, come on, let's read it now. Mr. Garrison, didn't the guy who shot John Lennon say it was because of this book?
Yes, apparently John Lennon's killer said he was inspired by Catcher in the Rye, but he was just a kook.
Whoa, you're telling us this book is filthy, inappropriate, and made a guy shoot the king of hippies? Can we please read this right now?
You will read it at home, and you will all be mature about its adult themes and language.
So that's it. There's another sequence. There's a whole
That's great.
Yeah, there's a whole episode on this book, by the way.
I remember it. It was a good one.
Kill John Lennon. Kill John Lennon. Kill John Lennon. Kill John Lennon. Hey, Dad, where does John Lennon live?
John Lennon's dead, Butters.
Ah, dang it.
So
Butters Butters has a low IQ. His mind is very easily taken hold of by the programming. That's what that's all about, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned conspiracy theory, so let's play this sequence from Conspiracy Theory. He's in a bookstore. This is Mel Gibson's character.
You receipt?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Catch in the Rye.
Yeah,
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Have you ever read it?
Yeah, I've never read it.
Never?
No, I haven't. I've never read it.
Catch.
I never.
Yeah, he's paranoid. That's a whole nother story. But
Right. Yeah, in that film, he was programmed with MK Ultra, like trauma-based mind control programming, to always have to have the Catcher in the Rye like in his pocket, like near his
Right.
heart and shit. So like if he loses his copy, he must buy one. And then the CIA gets to track all the book sales, and oh, someone bought this book because nobody buys the book because nobody actually likes the book. Everybody that ever buys it has to be on the list by the government, you know. Anyway, please
So
continue.
let's
Sorry.
go these sides. So we've talked about the red hat. That's why this is red. That's why it's always red is emphasized, because that
Oh.
color is very key.
That's
So
killer.
this is
The killer hat is the
killer hat is the cover of the book.
Wow.
And so you see this red here. This is the carousel. Now at the very end of the book, his sisters disappeared. So is his parents. So what happened between those chapters? Like he says, she's killing me. This kills me. It's the only time he's happy was he sees her riding in the carousel. And then,
That's
and then it's
creepy.
over. Oh yeah. No. There's something missing there between those chapters. Where's the resolution with Phoebe? It's just she's riding this carousel and then he ends up in a mental institution. Did he do something horrible? Because he's talking about murdering the whole time. Like he's talking about murder and fighting people. He flies off the handle and attacks his roommates without provocation or without like telling them. He tries to headlock them and they beat him up. Like this is not, there's nothing redeeming about Holden Caulfield.
Do you think maybe the carousel could be like an internal mental phenomenon for him, and he's remembering her in his mind in this way on the carousel, whatever that means?
Like
I
trying to
mean,
grab
maybe
the
it's like
ring.
I don't know.
I don't know, but it gets really strange. So here's like another, this is another cover of Holden wearing his murder hat, thinking about the ducks and chain smoking. Right. So this is kind of interesting. This is I'd grok this 65 million copies of Catcher in the Rye have been sold worldwide. That's what Salinger looked like. That's his war. So there's whole stories. Salinger is kind of a literary legend, you know, because of this book. But
Crazy. I mean, it's got to be 77, right? Look at that. It's got to be because he is using the language of the dark occult, and the dark occult is recognizing him. Either that, or they charged him to do that.
I think so.
Yeah,
Or they charged him, or there's some kind of culture creation, or
yeah. I mean,
you're going to be the front for this. He came out of Intel. How many times have we seen people in Intel, military Intel, who've created culture in the U.S.? It's Legion. I mean, it really is almost
It
like
is
it's
Legion,
almost
right? Yeah.
Like it's like we can just do
It's
this.
funny, like,
Morrison's
okay.
dad and all these people in Laurel Canyon. And
That's why he identifies with Legion, because he's one of the many, like Kinsey and all the other ones, like that.
he's
funny.
possessed. He likes the possessed. He doesn't identify with Jesus or the apostles. He identifies with Legion. It is crazy.
It's almost just like Alex from Clockwork Orange. He's reading the book and he's thinking about Jesus's like passion, and Jesus is walking along with the cross, and then somebody's whipping him, and turns out it's Alex that's whipping him, and he's dreaming of being the whipping guy.
He loves the Bible because it's super violent, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting because in my notes I have Holden Caulfield as this kind of archetype, as like Alex DeLarge from Clockwork Orange, and also Bateman from American Psycho, because there's narratives within the book where he's talking about, he gets really angry with people with low grade luggage. And he references Brooks Brothers and all these kind of high end Tony, upper class stores and stuff like that. But he really doesn't like crappy luggage, and it makes him depressed. So these little artificial things that the average person may not think much about, he is. And it reminds me of like Bateman from Psycho, where he's like careful about what he wears and how he does his day and his business card and his dress and the kind of superficial element, but he's really just a stone cold.
Right. The business card scene was great. American Psycho.
So we're going to get into people who've had the book The Catcher in the Rye. This is a picture of Chapman pointing a gun to his head. Hinckley, same posture, right? Begun. This is Hinckley. Okay. The thing is that these two people did these assassinations or attempted assassinations only 3 or 4 months apart. So Lennon was December 8th, I believe, 1980. And then Reagan was inaugurated in January 81. And then Hinckley tried to kill him in March 81. So who would have benefited, right? Who's
You know,
who's the chief beneficiary if Reagan dies?
right. Yeah. Well, HW, right?
Perfect. He becomes
Yeah.
president, right?
Yeah. The Joker, the first one, the big thing with him was doing this thing to his head. And then that was kind of a callback to the taxi driver to doing the thing to his head. And like taxi driver kind of
We're
goes
just
along
getting
with
started. We're
all
just getting
this stuff,
started.
right? Yeah, okay.
So here's Hinckley, and this is current. This is on TMZ. John Hinckley Jr. asked by ex-users to assassinate Donald Trump. This is literally November 7th, 2024.
Yeah, but who didn't? Like, I was so many people asked people to assassinate that guy. It was like a meme back. Like everybody was saying it. It was gross.
Here's the pedophile theme. So that's Jodie Foster. She was 12 at the time, traumatized by the experience in Taxi Driver, is my understanding.
Right.
And also like sexualized. They have her lipstick and her hair's done up. There's Travis Bickle. That's De Niro as this. But what's interesting about these guys is they're like suicidal, like Holden Caulfield. So Hinckley's thinking of killing himself or impressing Jodie Foster, which came out in 1976. Basis for this is Arthur Bremer. But in this book, The President Has Been Shot by Herbert Abrams, it talks about Hinckley's not just, and this is what we'll see with Chapman too, they're not identifying with them. They're not admirers of these guys in these films. They become them.
That's demon possession, right? I mean,
then violently rescues a young prostitute, Iris, played by Jodie Foster, from her pimp. Hinckley identified with Travis and began to act like him after he'd seen the film 15 times. He bought the same clothes, ate the same foods, drank the same liquors, invented a girlfriend just as had Bickle. So he literally, we're going to see the same thing with Chapman. It's crazy.
Wow.
So here's another guy. This is kind of a lesser known guy associated with Catcher in the Rye, Robert John Bardo, 1989, killed Rebecca Schaefer. He was 19, she's 21. And he had this thing. This is from a news article. Red paperback copy of The Catcher in the Rye was found on the roof of the Beverly Palms Rehabilitation Center on Beverly Boulevard. He, Bardo, indicated that he threw a red-covered paperback book entitled The Catcher in the Rye in the alley while he was running. The discovery of the book harked back to the 1981 shooting of former Beatle John Lennon. It was 1980, they got it wrong, by one-time mental patient Mark David Chapman in New York City. After the obsessed fan shot the rock singer, he calmly took out a copy of the J.D. Salinger novel and was reading it when police arrived.
Now that sitting down and waiting for the police to arrive, that is an example of what SRA program multiples do. I mean, like the Aurora shooting guy with the Batman thing, he sat in his car and waited for the cops to show up. And another guy dressed as the Joker, like a Japanese guy on the train, was stabbed a bunch of people. I think he lit people on fire too. And then he sat down and smoked a cigarette. Maybe he just stabbed somebody. Somebody else lit a bunch of people on fire.
Sirhan doesn't remember doing the shooting. Like all these other things are going on.
Exactly. And they're not running. They're programmed to sit and wait because they are the patsy. They have to, you know what I mean? They're the ones that have to go to jail while, the real killer gets free.
So this is this is interesting just to search on kind of newspaper articles. These people, both of Hinckley and Chapman were in the news together. This is literally the same page.
Wow.
Talking about the killings or shootings. Hinckley, defense isn't there. The kicker is that they kept Hinckley in a military facility back to the Marine Brig at Quantico, Virginia, where he's being held under title. He didn't go into the general population. Hinckley went back. He's covered by defense and government psychiatrists. And we're going to see something. This is going to blow your mind. Like who's around these guys is incredible. Like, you just can't believe it.
Do you think they brought him to that place for reprogramming like they did to Kanye?
Absolutely, I do.
Okay,
I do.
yeah.
I think something very sketchy is going on with all these guys. Obsessed fan emulated Lennon assassin. Obsessed fan Robert Bardo carried The Catcher in the Rye in his assassin's kit to kill actress Rebecca Schaefer because John Lennon's killer carried the same book. And then Park Elliott Dietz. These guys are well-known shrinks. Like Dietz is on TV or used to be all the time. But the key sentence here, Bardo was not insane when he killed the actress, but suffered from a schizophrenic disorder known as splitting, which hampered his ability to form intent for murder, the psychiatrist testified. He alienated between seeing Schaefer as all evil or all good and not aware of the shift in his emotions. He has split brain, or he's possessed or something, but it's a kicker because he was smart enough to hire detectives to find Schaefer. So for some reason, she was in his sights. I don't know why. Crazy. So Hinckley, Chapman again. Accused killer had a copy of the chapter Catcher in the Rye. Catcher in the Rye is linked to JFK, John Lennon, and Rebecca Schaefer, because supposedly Oswald had a copy of Catcher in the Rye, which hasn't been confirmed. And this is your picture.
Right. I took that screenshot. Right?
Yeah. Of The Shining, right? And
Yes.
this is another split brainer. He's possessed. I don't know what's going on with
Yes,
Danny.
exactly. Actually, yeah. So Danny is a victim of trauma, and he has a split personality named Tony that lives in his stomach or whatever. So he says, and so there he is, feeding his stomach. Maybe more programming, who knows? But like that's another thing. Like with Fritz Springmeier and stuff, his books will teach you that in the stories, when the character is eating, that's like the consumption of the programming. When like Alice was in the Looking Glass, she would take boxed lunches off the tree and she would eat them, and that's like a signifier of eating the programming. So maybe that seeing this book and Danny eating at the same time, maybe that has more significance than I thought originally. I'm just thinking of that now. But anyway, there's Wendy. She's reading a copy of Catcher in the Rye, and Jack says that she's a horror holic or whatever. She loves to read horror novels. Yeah.
She's reading a horror novel.
That's
She
for
really
sure.
is.
Yes.
And I think that in the last sequence of the book, Phoebe is wearing a blue dress. So this may
just
actually,
like was it polka dot dress? Wasn't there blue polka dots with the
that's
with
the RFK
Sirhan? Yeah. Okay.
But Phoebe's wearing, so maybe they were clever enough to emulate this blue dress as well.
Oh, right, in the picture there, right.
Yeah. So the blue dress here may relate to Phoebe and Catcher in the Rye. See, the insinuation is that he kills Phoebe, right? Because she's not there anymore.
Right.
So he's
And
gone insane and
he
kills her,
doesn't
and that's his
remember it
brother.
because it's a different split that did it, and his front personality doesn't remember it at all. So that's
Because
why
he's
it's
really
not written
obsessed
in the
with
book.
her.
Right,
And he goes into the underground, this Egyptian underground. So there's like symbolism. It all takes place right there in Central Park. The Museum of Natural History is right there off of Central Park. He goes down and he sees the mummies. Then he comes back almost like in a rebirth ritual.
Huh.
It's really intense, man. This book is really something. When you
It's
understand
like what Crowley
the
did when he received the Book of the Law, like, right? He
yeah,
just
and there's
went into
all
the
these
pyramid 3 days.
yeah, it's all stuff about masonry and all this crap.
Right.
This is conspiracy theory. Watch that. This is where I really started off my investigation 2024. I was like arguing with somebody online. But this is the thing. This is from Joe Atwill. But one of the interesting things here is it is alleged that Lee Harvey Oswald had a copy in his apartment and that it was one of his favorite books. So this is disputed. So a lot of people like this book, and we're going to see some interesting people who like this book. But Atwill talks, there's another article he does about the pedophilia, which is pretty overt. Like, to me, it's like, well, this whole last sequence when he's with his sister, it's like,
Right.
yeah, it's bad.
I think I've read both of those. And Joe Atwill does some good work. People can find him at CaesarsMessiah.com, I think.
Yeah. This is a people shooting hat. I said, I shoot people in this hat. So you see this repetitive phraseology, this kind of driving. This happens throughout the book.
And he's not a photographer. Right? What kind of shooting is he talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
He talks about getting shot. There's really violent verbiage, violent words. This is the current book of The Catcher in the Rye. Chain smoking, duck, inability to know where the ducks are, wearing his murder hat. So it's still around today. This isn't like this book was out in 51.
Like a duck hunter.
Yeah. This is one of the guys I talked to, David. This guy, David Whelan, he wrote this book is recent within the last couple of years. He doesn't think that Chapman even shot Lennon at all.
Oh, it was the doorman, right?
He doesn't think that he doesn't buy the story at all. He doesn't think it's the doorman. I think they looked into him, Perdomo. He thinks that something happened because we know that Lennon was taken into this little kind of annex. So the story of like Chapman shooting him in the doorway or the driveway of the Dakota's fake. And
Right. It was
Chapman's
in the door a little bit. Right.
yeah, he was found near there. He was definitely lurking around. But
that whole Rosemary's Baby thing, and the girl who suicides herself out the window and lands on the Volkswagen Bug right there in front of the Dakota, and the Bug is on the cover of the Beatles album where John Lennon is the dead guy, like goes pretty deep.
It's crazy. It's
Right.
really crazy. But Whelan said that the Lennon had 7 close shots to the left side of his heart. So the placement, it was like professional, and he was dead before he hit the ground. So it wasn't like a sloppy shoot, thing. This was like a pro like would finish the job. Like
Delta Force type.
Yeah, something crazy. Yeah. And from Fenton Bresler, this is the murder of John Lennon. There's a lot in here that talks about the mental state of Chapman, his life, things like that. But some of the stuff I'm going to read, it's pretty incredible. When you come to read in detail about how Mark Chapman behaved after Lennon's murder, you will find a striking parallel between the dazed, as if in like a trance-like condition of the two men. Mark remembered more of the actual killing, but otherwise their reactions were also identical. Talking about Sirhan, right? This is the killing of RFK in 1968. After RFK got became the presidential contender. And they announced it at the Ambassador Hotel, which they tore down. And they actually, where Reagan got shot, they restructured the whole thing. So you can't even see anything about that. They redid the whole front of the hotel where he was shot.
Right. They always get rid of the evidence. Yeah. Just like 9/11, they got those trucks going all day, all night.
There is a tie. There's all kinds of ties between these killings, but Sirhan to Chapman, same doctor, Bernard Diamond.
Wow.
Into hypnosis too, like knows a lot about it.
Wow.
Can't believe, yeah. Hey, there's an odd footnote. This is a footnote to Brenton Fresler, but to me, this is like a whole chapter. Like this is it. This is the key. There's an odd footnote, and this chapter is called Mind Control too. There's an odd footnote to all this. The principal medical defense witness for Sirhan was Dr. Bernard Diamond of the University of California, one of America's leading psychiatrists who used hypnosis in his work. 13 years later, he was to be one of the defense psychiatrists in Mark's case, among others. His diagnosis for the two men was the same: paranoia, schizophrenia. It's a cover. It's bullshit. It's complete BS. He seems to not have used hypnosis, and either of us seem not to. Baloney. 2 interviews with Mark, although he hypnotized.
That's real convincing. Seem not to.
Yeah, on 6 of his 8 visits to great effect. For instance, when Dr. Diamond asked Sirhan where he had concealed his gun while waiting for Kennedy, Sirhan, in his trance, went for the inside of his belt on the left side, and police at last knew where he had carried the weapon. And so you see that trance right in this book. He's put Holden Caulfield, who's on top of a witch's boob at the very start, is putting people into trance. Like, so this call over his head, Holden Caulfield is like a witch or something like it.
Right.
They're insinuating that.
Yeah.
Right. This stuff. I'm not exaggerating. It's too much. This is like the repetitive phraseology. I mentioned that at the intro. This is the same thing about this stuff. In fact, this is Sirhan. In fact, his notebooks were full of strange writings, often with the words repeated 3 or 4 or more. Sirhan said that he did not remember writing in the notebooks, but he agreed that he must have done. So at one point, Dr. Diamond showed him a photocopy of one of the bizarre entries and questioned him about it while he was still in a hypnotic trance. Is this crazy writing? Diamond asked. Yes, Sirhan wrote. Are you crazy? No. Well, why are you writing crazy? Practice. Practice
Yeah.
for what? Mind control.
Wow. Oh my God.
And then we go back to my thing where I was talking about this thing where he says, you will, page 19, the beginnings of this book. This is repetitive phrases just like this. It can't be, this isn't, the stuff they're putting into this book is not a mistake.
And like I said before, it reminds me of the way that the Crowley rituals, like in the magic theory and practice with the Io pan, whatever, they just keep repeating pan. Like, sounds similar to me. I don't know.
This is from, again, this book, Fenton Bresler's book. The second popular misconception about Mark relates to J.D. Salinger's famous novel, The Catcher in the Rye. The theory is that he'd always identified himself with Holden Caulfield, the book's phony-hating 16-year-old hero. This is the repetition of this idea that he's a hero, which is really strange to me after reading the book.
They gotta keep telling you, so you believe it.
Ever since he first read Catcher at the same age. After all, this is the book that the amazed New York policeman found him quietly reading outside the Dakota when he had thrown down his gun immediately after killing Lennon, with the inscription inside the cover written by Mark, quote, "To Holden Caulfield from Holden Caulfield. This is my statement." So he has become Holden Caulfield in his mind.
Wow.
This is in his prison cell awaiting trial. He maintained, quote, "The reason I killed John Lennon was to gain prominence, to promote the reading of J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. I'm not saying I'm a messiah or anything like that. If you read the book and if you understand my past, you will indeed see that I am the catcher in the rye of this generation."
Crazy. Just like everybody dressed up like the Joker nowadays in this generation.
There's a video of it somewhere, him saying that, because it says here, millions of people have heard those words spoken in Mark's flat, emotionless voice, only slightly tinged with a Southern accent in Kevin Sims' British television documentary, The Man Who Shot John Lennon. So if anybody has that from 1988, I would love to have a copy of that, him saying that, because that is really something else. It doesn't end there. So he's saying this from his jail cell. Then he goes to court. He brings the book into court. But this whole thing, like, this was a new thing. The Catcher in the Rye was some new thing for Mark. So that's what Fenton Bresler's saying. It wasn't a lifelong thing. This is from page 139. It was clearly a difficult time for him, and now an ominous new factor came into his life. He became interested in The Catcher in the Rye. We do not know why. We do not know if anyone suggested it to him, and if so, who. Catcher is a book that most people read once in their life in their teens. That is it. Why on earth, seemingly out of the blue, did Mark suddenly get so involved in a book that, like most of his generation of young Americans, he had already read at school before 10 years ago? So he has this sudden interest. If Catcher, with its explosive effect on Mark, was indeed the trigger for his programmed mind serving to put him on alert in case of call, it all does seem to come together with remarkable neatness. Yeah, it does.
Right.
So then this is like, this is him. Let's see. Holden Caulfield. He identifies with him. This whole FU story, like what he talks about. Like, this is like how intense the verbs is. This is from the book. This is from Fenton Bresler's book, quoting Catcher in the Rye, but I'm going to read this. The imbalance in the psychological makeup of immature 16-year-old Holden Caulfield exactly suited the temperament of bewildered, unhappy 25-year-old Mark Chapman. Nowhere is this better exemplified than the passage towards the end of Catcher when Holden, visiting his beloved young sister Phoebe's school in an abortive attempt to talk to her, sees the words FU written on a wall. Quote, "It drove me damn near crazy. I thought how Phoebe and all the other little kids would see it and how they'd wonder what the hell it meant. And then finally some dirty kid would tell them. I kept wanting to kill whoever'd written it. I figured it was some perverty bum that sneaked into school late at night and then wrote it on the wall. I kept picturing myself catching him at it." There's the catch theme.
Right.
"I pictured myself catching him at it and how I'd smash his head on the stone steps till he was good and goddamn dead and bloody. But I knew, too, I wouldn't have the guts to do it. That made me even more depressed." So not being able to commit the violent act makes him depressed. That's the message in the book.
Wow.
The solution to your depression is to act on the violence. See that?
Right.
Does that make
Ultra-violence.
sense? Yeah.
Ultra-violence. Right.
Right. It's Alex DeLarge again.
Right. And if you can dash your enemies' heads on the rocks, then, that goes back to the beginning of time. Like,
I wouldn't have the guts to do it. So that's the whole thing about Holden. He doesn't have guts. It's like repressed. He's also sexually repressed. There's a sequence.
Right. The incel hole.
He's an incel.
Involuntary celibate. Right.
He's totally He calls himself a sex maniac in the book. And then he has the opportunity by himself alone. He has the elevator man, Maurice, get this girl for him into his room for $5. And he doesn't want to commit the act. So he's thinking about sex all the time. He's asking everybody about sex, but he doesn't complete the act with the prostitute and fumbles it. And she's uncomfortable, but he likes her dress too. So that's kind of a weird tie-in between the dress of the prostitute and Phoebe. I think they're close colors of this dress.
Hmm.
So there's like a weird overlapping, very complex visual, symbolic, overlapping themes. So Catcher in the Rye, if I picture myself catching him at it, right? So you see this one thing, one element of Catcher in the Rye, like I'm saving these kids from going off the cliff, but then I'm also catching and doing I'm thinking about doing super violent stuff.
Right.
So, like, this is how complex the book is. It's not like something's written by a 16-year-old. And he supposedly, Salinger's 32 years old at the time this book is written. And it just, something doesn't sit right. Something else.
So it's amoral. It has
Yeah.
like no morality, and the killer is crazy. I mean, the hero is crazy. It's really like, sounds like something that the Satanists would love to promote for their
No doubt.
new
Well,
culture.
it's going to get really much more interesting. We're just getting started. So just as he had suddenly become involved again in August 1980 with The Catcher in the Rye, he equally suddenly and mysteriously thereafter recovered interest in Lennon, whom, as with Holden Caulfield, he had not thought about for nearly the past 10 years. So he becomes interested in Holden Caulfield and Lennon at the same time. Let's see, since the Supreme Court, he's being let's see. Sullivan is cross-examining Dr. Daniel Schwartz, principal defense psychiatrist or psychiatrist all over the place. As a matter of fact, did you learn that Chapman's interest in John Lennon largely stemmed from his reading of a book in Hawaii during either September or October of 1980? Yes. Have you ever read that book? No. Have you ever seen it? No. Or any copy of it? No. Did you learn that the defendant said that at or about the time that he was reading that book, he felt, gee, wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be a kicker if I killed John Lennon? Said that to himself, words to that effect? I believe so, yes.
Sorry to keep bringing up Joker, but just talked about it on a podcast with somebody else too. With Hans and Brett, we were talking about Eyes Without a Face, and that relates to the whole thing with the mask. Shit, I lost it. I think I lost it. I'm sorry. It will come back.
Let's go. Mark was clearly going through torment. He told his perplexed wife that he was thinking of changing his name to Holden Caulfield. September 10th, this is the lead up to the so-called killing. He had moved from Honolulu. This is very important. We're going to get to Honolulu. This is on the island of Oahu. To New Mexico. I'm going nuts. He drew a picture of Diamond Head, that's Oahu's big mountain, with the sun, the moon, the stars above it, and signed the letter, The Catcher in the Rye, Mark. 3 years earlier, soon after he arrived on the islands, he had his long psychiatric sessions with Ann Jones, but she does not recall his ever having mentioned the book. But this is like this common theme. This guy's obsessed with this book. Why is this captured in his brain? And it just goes through this catcher thing. Let's see.
Just wanted to say that the killing joke, it came back to me. The killing joke at the end of that's the one written by Moore. We talked about him in Utopia.
Alan Moore.
Right, Alan Moore. He wrote that one, and it's about the Joker and Batman and all that. And at the end, there's this little snippet about a regular comic book reader who describes his desire to kill someone big and important, someone like Batman. And there's like a picture of Batman getting shot in the head with a bullet, and he talks about how he would just go about the rest of his life and everything would be fine. And, total morally subjective, satanic. And it is in the persona of the reader of the comic, fantasizing about killing someone very important, just like this guy here with John Lennon, like, oh, if I could only kill John Lennon, it would be really important,
This is the book.
Guy, the Luigi guy.
Well, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
This book, you're invited into Holden Caulfield's brain because he's saying, why am I telling you this? So he's talking to you. It's not some dispassion, like some distance between the character's narrative and the arc. You're in his brain. That's what's really creepy about this book too. It's all psychological states and stuff. How does Salinger know all this stuff? He might. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying it's this book. Like, if you know mind control, like you and I have done so much research, it's like, why is this all here? Like, they didn't leave anything out. They put in all the sexual perversion, all these mental states, and all of the violence, like real violence. I'm going to bash his head and kill him. I'm going to catch him. Right? Why is this overlapping word like the title?
Like a predator, right? Chase, catch, kill the prey.
You have to also remember Holden is just aimlessly wandering around New York. He's not going home. He goes to a hotel.
Right.
He goes to a bar. He's calling rando people. He calls Mr. Andolini. Mr. Andolini, I think, is interpreting his call that Holden wants to go do the nasty deed with Antolini because it's random. And then he goes over there, and Andolini's wife goes to bed, and Holden wakes up on the couch, and Andolini's stroking his head. And he's like, "What are you doing?" So like Andolini's interpreting this as like, we're going to do some what is it? Homosexual
Gross
behavior.
stuff.
Like so he's thinking that Holden's in this. And then he says to Holden, he goes, "You're a very, very strange person." And Holden goes, "Yes, I am."
Right.
Like,
wow.
So this is the brain you're involved with. Like it's too much. Like this book is really dangerous. I told Hans I had to do like a psyche cleanse after I read this because I know what's going on. Anyway, this is going back to Chapman.
Thank you for getting into this for us because I didn't want to have to do the spelunking myself. I didn't want to go that deep into the rabbit hole of this one.
It gets super dark, man. It's really dark. As he walked the 20 blocks up to the Dakota on West 72nd Street, incongruous amid the lightly dressed New Yorkers with his heavy winter gear, he realized he was missing a prop. He had with him his double fantasy album, but something was missing. He halted his progress toward Lennon's selected place of execution and dived into a bookshop to emerge with a red paperback copy of The Catcher in the Rye. On the title page, he wrote, "To Holden Caulfield, from Holden Caulfield." And below that, "This is my statement." So like he literally stops to get the book. And there's Jose Perdomo is mentioned here. He sees Sean Lennon. And he's like talking about, there's like some narratives, but it gets more interesting because whatever this is what he writes then. So the murder happens December 8th, 1980. On February 1st, Mark Chapman sat down and wrote to the New York Times in ballpoint capitals a statement which the newspaper printed 8 days later. Remember, he just took a sudden interest in The Catcher in the Rye in September or October. Like this is it wasn't a lifelong interest. He took an interest in killing Lennon and reading The Catcher in the Rye within the last 4 months. Seldom could a book that first appeared in paperback 17 years earlier have had such a glowing sales boost. Quote from Chapman: "It is my sincere belief that presenting this written statement will not only stimulate the reading of J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye, but will also help many to understand what has happened. If you were able to view the actual copy of The Catcher in the Rye that was taken from me on the night of December 8th, you would find in it the handwritten words, 'This is my statement.' Unfortunately, I was unable to continue this stance and have since spoken openly with the police, doctors, and others involved in this case. I now fully realize that this should not have been done, for it removed the emphasis that I wanted to place on the book. My wish is for all of you to someday read The Catcher in the Rye. All my efforts will now be devoted towards this goal, for this extraordinary book holds many answers. My true hope is that in wanting to find these answers, you will read The Catcher in the Rye. Thank you, Mark David Chapman, The Catcher in the Rye."
This is maybe he only did this as a promotion for the book. Maybe this was just some kind of like Natural Born Killers type media program.
So in court in August 1981, he got a speedy trial. I think he pled guilty, so they didn't have to do a lot of like evidence and all that stuff because he's pleading guilty. Monday, 24th August 1981, Mark David Chapman, his hair close cropped from the incident when, with Craig Crimmon's help, he had totally shaved his head. Another son of MK something.
Oh, another Natural Born Killers reference too, right?
Yeah, I mean, Manson shaves his head. Mullen shaves his head. He was one of the Santa Cruz killers.
Right. All the Manson's women shave their heads.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Walked into Justice Edwards' court under his usual heavy armed guard. He carried with him a copy of The Catcher in the Rye. He wore dark slacks and a light blue T-shirt with no jacket. So he's in there with The Catcher in the Rye in court.
It's almost like a signal to everybody in the room, like, hey, I'm on this side. I'm doing my job. Here I am, like proving, to the others that are in the know with eyes to see, like, exactly. Hey, look, I'm doing my thing. You're right.
He had worked it out carefully. If you want to check it for yourself, he's reading. He's going to read in court. Holden Caulfield is talking to his young sister Phoebe, the only person in the world he really loves, about what he wants to be when he grows up. She suggests a lawyer like their father, but Holden dismisses lawyers as phonies. He wants to be the catcher in the rye, and he explains what he means in this passage cited by Mark David Chapman on the day of judgment. So this is the day of trial. Quote, anyway, I keep picturing all these little kids playing some game in a big field of rye and all. Thousands of little kids. And nobody is around, nobody big, I mean, except me. And I'm standing on the edge of some craggy cliff. What I have to do, I have to catch everybody if they start going over the cliff. I mean, they are running, and they don't look where they're going, so I have to come out from somewhere and catch them. That's all I do all day, be the catcher in the rye. And we saw that earlier sequence about the FU where he wants to beat and catch that person and beat him to death. So you see this overlapping concepts of salvation and violence associated with word catch.
That also goes along with Taxi Driver. I mean, that's, you know, okay, good.
I'm still, my presentation is progressing.
I mean, because it's very creepy the way that that Travis Bickle is looking at young 12-year-old. I forget her.
Right, because
name.
He's into porn, right? So he's taking people to porn. So it's not some kind. He maybe in his mind he's doing some kind of rationale, but there's some kind of romantic sexual.
Right, and instead of having an sexual release, it's a violence release, you know. And in the end, he's like with the dripping fingers, blood, you know, shoots his own. Right, but he ran out of.
We're
bullets.
getting there. You're exposing the rest of my life.
Yeah, sorry guys.
4-day trip. This is Hinckley. This is from Rawhide. So I think the Secret Service code word for Reagan was Rawhide. So this book is Rawhide Down, Rendezvous with Destiny 23. 4-day trip this is Hinckley. 4-day trip, blur of fast food, brief stops, Las Vegas, Cheyenne, Chicago, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Traveling through Utah, he woke from a brief nap to find the bus hurtling through a massive snowstorm. He spent much of the trip slouched in a window seat, watching the scenery stream by or reading The Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger's novel of teenage angst and alienation. No way. He identified with the story's main character, Holden Caulfield, but the book was also special to him because he knew that John Lennon's assassin had pulled it from his pocket and leafed through it moments after gunning down the rock and roll icon. Lennon, who had been killed 3.5 months earlier, was Hinckley's favorite musician. Even so, he felt they identified more with Lennon's killer than with Lennon himself.
That's telling, right?
Oh man, there's all kinds of overlaps. So they also there's literally allusions and discussions in Catcher in the Rye that are way too sophisticated for a 16-year-old. He talks about Charles Dickens' book. He talks about Shakespeare, and the book that they talk specifically about is what do they choose of Shakespeare's but Romeo and Juliet, right? In The Catcher in the Rye, which is like love story and everybody dies at the end, right? It's like a Holocaust happens. Everybody gets poisoned or whatever. It's a total tragedy.
And that was Shakespeare is about like culture creation too, like all 100%. The way. Right.
You've talked to Robert Frederick.
Yes.
So yeah. This suitcase also held some of his poems and short stories as well as several of his favorite books. In addition to The Catcher in the Rye, Hinckley brought along a copy of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet and a book called Strawberry Fields Forever, John Lennon remembered. Strawberry Fields Forever is full of this psychic driving language, by the way. You have to listen to the lyrics.
Right. And you looked at and you found the reference to strawberries being another one of those older pedophilia for young girls references, something like that.
Right. Like teen Lolitas or whatever.
Right.
George Bush, 1995 interview, Williamsburg, Virginia. Was there a book that inspired you? One of the historians here in Williamsburg talked about War and Peace. I had read that in school. It was an inspiring, lengthy treatise. I read it twice. It taught me a lot about life. There was a marvelous book by Salinger called Catcher in the Rye.
Wow. Marvelous.
And if you know this, what would you talk about earlier? Who's the chief beneficiary if Reagan dies?
Exactly.
Right there.
Right. And wasn't his family having dinner with Hinckley's brother?
Yeah. One of his sons was having family.
That's it, right.
There's evil ghoul Bill Gates, December 12th, interesting date, Crowley's birthday. I think it's probably just random.
The net, the box. Look at the book titles. Yeah. That's some satanic stuff right there. That's some
a box.
That's some Tesseract shit right there.
This is Bill Gates, by Bill Gates. This is his writing. You may notice that there aren't many novels on my list this year. It's not that I don't enjoy fiction. I've read The Catcher in the Rye a bunch of times. It's one of my favorite books ever.
Wow.
This
catch all those
psycho-
kids and inject them on the way. Like, yeah,
He's catching those kids.
that's
If
for
I
sure.
catch one, I'm going to beat its head into the freaking steps, right?
Yeah, that's why he's friends with Epstein too, right?
We talked about Chapman being in Hawaii, Honolulu. Where
Right.
does Ruth? He literally comes from Hawaii.
Oh yeah, that Routh guy, this
Yeah,
weirdo.
this is the second shooter of attempted shooter at Trump. Who
Right.
he was in Ukraine. He shows up all the time. He looks dazed out of his mind.
Yeah, I saw a video
He
of
has
him
mystery
in front of
money.
Harvard.
He owes like child support or alimony, but he can afford these extravagant trips on flights around the world. Incredible.
Right.
Much like Chapman. This is the guy supposedly who's at the American flag, all this stuff. This is the guy who supposedly tried to kill Trump.
It's funny
July
that
13th,
they always choose this picture. Go back to that, dude. Sorry. They always choose this picture, but he was much older than that. And apparently he had longer hair and was trying to look like the other gender, that type of thing.
Oh,
For some reason,
incredible.
that picture gets thrown away. It's because you looked into how
we talked about that.
Trannies are a
Didn't
bunch of psychos that do murder, right? Yeah. No offense,
transition
guys.
to kill. Yeah, transition
Listeners.
to kill.
Right,
They
right.
just had a freaking international tranny cult killing people.
Right, the
all
vegans,
over the country.
right,
Yeah. So
right.
one of the kickers, we did that show about Scarlet Blake, right? One of
What
the
is-
guys that was Oxford. They just had an SFK Oxford death today, or like in the last couple
Really?
of days. Yeah.
Another one?
Another water death in the river, in the Thames, I think. But one of the guys part of that tranny cult is from Oxford. So and he's Asian.
course.
So there may be a connection between him and Scarlet
Wow,
Blake.
he's aging just like Scarlet Blake or whatever the hell that guy's name was. Shit, I forget his name.
It's so crazy.
But
It came out of Tavistock, bro.
Yes, yeah, it's so evil. It's
Yeah.
so evil. Okay.
So these are like things in no, let's watch this one video of the let's get into Taxi Driver, because this is really incredible.
Great.
We're going to watch these Arthur Bremer movies. These are blow your mind. These are so crazy. Like you won't even believe it. Let's watch this Bremer thing.
Awesome.
This is like, because it parallels Taxi Driver. So reality went into fiction and back to reality. Like it's
Wow.
Yeah,
That's what they want. The Satanists are trying to do that. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what they want to weave it all together.
Arthur Bremer shot Alabama Governor George Wallace on May 15, 1972, while Wallace was holding a presidential campaign rally in Laurel, Maryland. Police immediately arrested Bremer, and after they learned his identity, Secret Service and FBI agents searched Bremer's Milwaukee apartment. Inside, they found a Confederate flag and .38 caliber bullets like the ones used to shoot Wallace. Bremer's father and his brother couldn't believe it.
There's no explanation for if it was him, his behavior.
There's no explanation for his behavior, his father and his brother.
What had happened, there's no explanation we can give at all.
Neighbors said Bremer was odd.
He never had many friends with him. He was always like a loner.
The 21-year-old loner from Milwaukee was convicted and sentenced to prison. Now, with a long, scraggly beard and a receding hairline, Bremer appears to have aged a lot in the last 10 years. His warden describes Bremer as a model prisoner who doesn't have many friends.
I can't say categorically that he does not have any friends or associates in here, but he's not the type of inmate that walks in a group in the yard or is with a group of people in the rec halls. He's basically a loner.
The Maryland Parole Commission recently refused to move up the date when Bremer will first be eligible for parole. Meanwhile, George Wallace is running for governor of Alabama again. We went to a campaign rally in tiny Aniana, Alabama, and asked Wallace how he feels about Arthur Bremer.
I have forgiven him for shooting me, and I hope that he's asked forgiveness for having shot me.
But this is really another creepy one, is Arthur Bremer in the crowd. Like, this is really an incredible one because he's clearly stalking Wallace. And this is just off the charts. Watch this. That's Bremer right there. So he's in there clapping. He's got all his regalia on.
Jamming.
Yeah. He's excited. He's got his glasses.
That looks just like somebody in the throes of mind control, like fully told to be like
all
when
of a
you see
sudden, here
people
he comes.
put okay.
4 shots.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Those poor people around him, like I hope they didn't get hurt.
So he's in the crowd. He's smiling. He's got this, Joker look or whatever on his face. And
right.
then let's watch Taxi Driver. Right. Let's watch
nice.
This.
Here we go.
There we go.
Those incels keep shooting and killing.
Today I say to you, we have reached the turning point. No longer will we the people suffer for the few.
I love how the statue behind him also has arms up. It mirrors the guy in front.
Now, I would lie to you if I told you the new roads would be easy. They will not be easy. Nothing that is right and good has ever been easy. We the people know that. And we the people know.
Do you notice the same hats? So the same kind of style of hat is there in the real shooting of Wallace and in this. Thank goodness. So they clearly are modeling this
right.
sequence over the Bremer shooting.
The right roads and the good. Today I say to you, we are the people, you and I, and it is time to let the people rule. Thank you.
The clapping, the whole bit.
You watch these streets clean. That whole guy cleaning the car was crazy. Just saw 88 on somebody's shirt.
Yeah, there it is.
I never saw it. I saw him run. Where was
And Travis Bickle becomes this kind of archetype like Alex Dillard. So people identify with him or the underhero. And we'll see that today. Mangione, you mentioned Mangione earlier.
And he looks in the mirror, that whole thing where he looks in the mirror and he's, are you talking to me? It's like he's programming himself and then like to reinstall the programming, whatever he got in boot camp or whatever. I don't know what the hell, but then other people, that's cool, and they do that. And they're always like, you talking to me? And they do that quote and they quote from the movie.
Right.
And then it's like identifying with him identifying and the mirror too. Like that whole thing is like a feedback loop into our own world that kind of gets really weird. Yeah.
Bro, it gets great. It's crazy. We're just getting started. So this is chapter 27. There's 26 chapters to the book, to the Catcher in the Rye. This is 27. So a whole movie about this, and Leto became Chapman.
Right.
And there's all kinds of stuff. And then this is the other mind control thing from chapter 27 is in his getup, Chapman at the hotels, he would reference Wizard of Oz, a very well-known book used for mind control people.
It's 32 on the timeline. I wonder if it does something significant at 33 or whatever. Because the Freemason.
You would know more than me. Maybe you should watch it, dude. You can watch it on YouTube.
Well, I think I've seen 27 or whatever. And that guy Jared Leto is crazy too.
Yeah,
I know I say this word a lot today, but
he
deserves the moniker. He is wacko, dude.
I've seen him making the Typhonian hand signal and all. Of
course, right. And he wears the T-shirts, and that whole.
This is the call. Various traditions have used it as a sign of spiritual or psychic abilities. In some folklore, the call was believed to bestow second sight of the ability to see in the future. So I think that's what they're trying to infer or imply, is that there's Ruth again from Oahu. He's from Oahu, close to where Chapman is from.
Notice he's winking in that picture. He's got the one eye, right? The one you just showed us.
Mangione. The NYPD claims to have found the CEO shooter, right? He shoots the healthcare CEO. Backpack near the carousel in Central Park, exactly where the Catcher in the Rye ends.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
This all takes place. Mangione is all right next to Central Park.
And he's shooting a phony. You know, that's what he does. Like,
shoots a phony.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out if he has this book. He has reading lists. He was on Goodreads, but he's a fan of Kaczynski, who we know came out of an MK Ultra program with the same guy who wrote The Secret Life of Hitler. Hitler's, the brain of Hitler or whatever. His name was Morrow, or he had an M last name. I forgot his name.
Wasn't that guy also the programmer of Charles Manson?
Maybe.
The guy that maybe I got it confused.
This is just like, this is a known thing. Like I asked Rock, who was the inspiration for Travis Bickle, Arthur Bremer. Bremer attempted to assassinate Alabama governor in 1972. His diary, so he has the same diary with this weird stuff that's like Catcher in the Rye and like Sirhan's writings, which, and his thing is an assassination diary. And these are kind of the naughty words from Catcher in the Rye. These are flitty, homosexual, give her the time, sex, necking, phony. Snowing is deceiving. So, but this is the Francis Stoner Saunders book, CA and the Worlds of Arts and Letters. And this is this is from page 323. And it's about this. They mentioned Dulles.
322 up there on the upper left.
Interesting.
Too, right?
Encounter is this kind of magazine. And it says, many of our friends, including Muggeridge and Irving Brown, have the same wish, or urging Spender. Stephen Spender was a known kind of intel guy, I think, to open literary pages to a new generation of American writers like Saul Bellow, J.D. Salinger, Truman Capote. So Encounter and Spender, who are like intel connected, are promoting J.D. Salinger. That's what they're saying in this thing. But let me see if I think I have another set of slides somewhere. But yeah, I mean, just crazy stuff, dude.
Right. This is very crazy stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Where's my other ones?
So this it made people identify with the crazy, want to not have morality, and to act in violent ways reactively to very little stimulus, like a couple words on a wall. I mean, and that kind of thing triggers, maybe he was programmed to trigger at those words on the wall. Maybe that was part of it, because wasn't he led down there, and then that's where he found the words. Like it was like told to go down the hallway or some bathroom or some shit. Something like
right. That. Mangione, he was known, like he had a full personality change.
Right.
He was in Hawaii. He was at this place in Hawaii called Surf Break. And then he starts taking on this Kaczynski. Then he identifies with Kaczynski, right? He was in, Mangione was in Hawaii from January to June of 2022. He lived at Surf Break, a kind of intellectual free-thinking commune operated by R.J. Martin, an adult dorm for adventurers, remote workers, and mindful travelers united by a shared life in our co-living plus co-working spaces.
Nudity and drugs.
That's where he resided before his surgery. So he went into surgery, went into a hospital for some period of time.
Right, for his back or something.
Yeah. And then he read Mangione gave the Industrial Society its feature 4 stars, quoting Kaczynski, he was a violent individual, rightfully imprisoned, who maimed innocent people. While these actions tend to be characterized by those of a crazy Luddite, however, they are more accurately seen as those of an extreme political revolutionary. Unquote.
Well, I mean, he kept the caveat of the morality in the beginning. He said, like, it is wrong and he deserves to be in prison. So it doesn't sound like a crazy person. This Mangione guy. It's
there's something else going on with Mangione.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out this one. This is a recent thing.
The Monopoly money in his backpack was funny, though. He's a joker. He's a real funny man.
His ideas of deny, defend, oppose are now around. It's class war. Deny, defend, oppose.
There's lots of songs with that title now. Like James Evan Pilato was playing a bunch of them on his radio program every day. He would have a new one for a couple weeks. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. So he's a folk hero now, right?
That's right.
This guy.
Yeah.
And I can pull the map up of New York City, but basically, let me see if I can find this.
Just like Joker became a folk hero when he killed that dude Murray on TV. I mean, everybody was like, "Woo, yay!" You know, revolution and all that crap.
So he makes this travel like Chapman all the way to New York City to kill this guy, and somehow he gets him at 7 a.m. in the morning.
Right, he was hanging out in front of the building just like Chapman was, right? Wasn't Chapman
Yeah.
going back and forth, walking around outside? And...
Yeah, it's the same kind of stalking. Like he came out of Hawaii. I don't know. His parents declared him missing like 2 weeks before the shooting. Like, where's my son?
Right, and isn't he like old enough to be away from his parents and not?
Yeah,
like it's kind of weird. Just like the people who did that. I mean, there's somebody who did a school shooting, and the parents like called ahead of time, and they're like, "Oh, forget which one that was. One of the recent ones."
This is where all of this stuff happens. So the shooting, it's happened on 7th Avenue, Mangione. I think it's about 6 blocks away from Central Park, right? If you see this here, I forgot. It's like
right. He took the e-bike right up that street to Central Park, didn't he?
Central Park. So this is the carousel where Catcher in the Rye ends. Strawberry Fields Forever. That was what. That's what Hinckley had in his books, right?
There's probably some kind of like really satanic ritual happening at Strawberry Fields, and that's what he's referencing. Strawberry Fields Forever, like that. You know, whatever that magic working goes on forever.
Mangione stuff is close to the Bethesda Fountain, somewhere around there. This is the Museum of Natural History that Holden Caulfield goes into and has this weird kind of, thing with mummies.
Spiritual revelation.
Yeah, whatever. And then this is the Dakota right there. It's all there.
Right.
Central Park, Mangione, Museum of Natural History, overlapping with the carousel with Mangione, Chapman, and Holden Caulfield.
Also, the very first shot of Rosemary's Baby is like we see floating over the rooftops, and we see all of New York City, that whole area around there, and then they float into the window of the Dakota.
Wow. Strawberry.
To
we
show
can
like
pull the lyrics
any one of those buildings could have Satanists living in them. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what he's kind of saying. Like all these buildings are full of Satanists.
Full of Satanists. Wow, that's crazy. It's probably true. I mean,
I'm willing to bet. I mean, it's really expensive to live there.
Do you know that this is where the shooting supposedly happened?
Right.
Do you know that he used to go to these very dark bars? What's his name?
Which one? Who?
Polanski.
Oh, right.
He was involved in like the underground of New York. So he would shoot during the day and then go to like BDSM bars and sex clubs and like really dark stuff. Like he was a very dark operator during a very dark time. The 70s in New York City was pretty rough. This is right before the Son of Sam stuff.
I've heard that he was I don't know. This is hearsay, I guess, but he was the one who filmed a lot of important blackmail, like some of the snuff porn and whatever else that they create in their dark ritual. Like he was held up and he did some of that, and somehow he changed his mind or was working against them in some way, and they threw him under the bus, and that's why he had to run away to Europe, because they're all pedophiles. Like, whatever. It's not like he's the bad one. Like he's bad, obviously, but I mean, it's not like he's any different than the rest. They all go to the satanic parties and the BDSM clubs that you're talking about. Right?
I think that place on Cielo Drive was like a known orgy house,
Oh, I thought they sold drugs too. Yeah.
Drugs and just all the kind of darkest stuff.
Yes, exactly. That's why the cult was going there, right? Because of the drug thing.
And I think that Joan Didion, who wrote about that, she's like a literary figure. She's like, we're surprised it took so long to happen because everybody was involved, like all these other celebrities. So I think it was just part of that cult, crazy Satanism culture. I think that kind of like that was the end of it. Like, okay.
Right. And then you look at Laurel Canyon and you think about like the other book that Dave McGowan wrote, like the Program to Kill. Both of those together, really, like a California right at the end of the 60s, and holy crap, like it's just a den of satanic evil. Like they're all wolves, rabid, like trying to kill each other. Right?
This book is evil. It's a really dark book, and it's very sophisticated. So I likened it to, I don't know if you've ever seen that horror movie Evil Dead, where they find the satanic book,
the Necronomicon,
or whatever it was,
yeah,
and then everything bad happens. This book is like the foundation of really bad stuff, and it should be banned.
It's awakening the Deadites, right?
Yeah, look at all these people who promote. Look at the people who promote it. 2 monstrous figures that I know of. The other one that I found out is what's the girl's name who was starred in Stranger Things? The
11.
Winona Ryder. Supposedly her favorite book. Yeah.
Well, isn't her uncle?
Her godfather is Leary, who I just posted, carried on the work.
Right. Yeah, and she was in Night on Earth. She did a lot of good movies, and she's a great actress, actually.
Connected to Deb, connected to the West Memphis 3. She's a heavy West Memphis 3 supporter. Yeah.
Oh God, never mind. I retract my statement.
She's pictured with some of the real. I'll post them for you later on today. But
it's like a rot that never goes away. That West Memphis thing, like
it's not going away. It hasn't gone away.
It grows and 93. Oh my God, 93, the big holiday, 93, right? Their favorite number. Right? It's like they denigrate that number. It's supposed to be like enlightening and uplifting, and Anyway, sorry.
Okay, well, I got one more thing before we wrap it up.
Yeah, we're moving.
This is the coup.
We're doing good.
This is the old coup de grace. This is gonna really. So there's like this movie, this documentary that came out right around the time of these murders in 80, 81, and it's called Mission Mind Control. And have you ever heard of Mission Mind Control?
I think I have heard of this one.
They never should have made it. It has like all of the mind control people in it. Like it's got Gittinger and it's got Marx, who wrote Search for the Manchurian Candidate or whatever. But it has one of Chapman's
phenomenon is interesting. It's forcing.
It's not it. Come on, Mission Mind Control. That's the UFO guy. I forgot his name.
Okay.
Oh shoot, what's his name? I pulled up the wrong video file.
That's fine. Do you have the other one though?
Yeah, I'm
still okay. Good. Sorry,
I'm not doing a good job.
No, you're good.
I'm trying to do
this is
things
great.
at once. When I do 3 things at once,
my listeners don't mind that kind of thing. Like
that's
really,
more Mac. That's Mac. Mac was his name. That's the guy who was like the experiencer UFO. That's Gittinger. This is Manchurian Candidate, right?
I do remember this one. Yep. I think this one might be on the Arc with Mark Pancios.
They're directly asking him, can you make a mind-controlled candidate? This is Chapman's doctor, not Gittinger. This guy's a bigwig, too. Tied to JFK, believe it or not. Listen to this.
Absolutely credible. I would say the answer is yes, but there are many qualifications to that.
Dr. Milton Klein, a psychologist, a clinical and experimental hypnotist, and unpaid consultant to the CIA.
The qualifications would be the subject selected to produce the kind of behavior that you wish, the amount of time, the procedures that are utilized, and the motivations of the people who are designing, executing, and administering the procedures. You're asking whether an individual can be, under hypnosis, influenced, coerced, persuaded, shaped to perform an antisocial act, or a destructive act, or an act of violence. My answer would be yes.
Captain Marco, you'll be good enough.
That's it. My answer would be yes.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
And that's fini. We are done.
That's just, I mean, like, just saying that really right there, if you think in the framework of SRA and trauma-based mind control, yep, that too. Like, that's what MK Ultra was doing. It wasn't only drugs, it was trauma, that's where they got all those Nazis from Paperclip and all that information from all that trauma in World War II.
It goes far back. There, I've just came across
to Babylon. I mean, like, Moloch and but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they may be using these trance states, and it goes back into like what do you call it, like paganism or all this other stuff. But
And then again with the DID and the demon possession right there, like paganism and the old religion and that whole ritual,
putting people into trances and all that other stuff,
and incarnation of the demon and like all that, like
horrible.
Yeah,
it's rough.
exactly.
It's rough to think about, but I mean, this is our history. This is our cultural history.
That's
like
right.
People who watch
we live in
Taxi
a great
Driver.
Satan.
Yeah, they don't understand the heritage of Taxi Driver.
Right.
It's Bremer. Look at that same visuals, the clapping in the crowd, the same, what do they call those hats? Those same hats.
Right. It was like a straw hat. It was
yeah,
one
the
of
straw
those,
hat.
like,
Exactly. The same visuals. It's all there. It's Bremer. Pickle is Bremer. And then if you remember at the very beginning of this presentation, almost an hour and a half ago, or more than a half an hour ago, Hinckley became Travis Bickle. He was doing everything.
Right.
And Chapman became Holden Caulfield.
Right. Just like the actors in the old days of Shakespeare would take on the spirit into themselves, and just like Beyonce becomes Sasha Fierce or whatever the hell, like it's the same story. It's demon possession, guys. It's not actually, I mean, sure, DID exists, but there's also demon possession, and there is the spirit world too. Like we have to keep that in mind. And those of us that are atheists and like want to think only in like terms of like the corporeal and the material world, right? Like we can't grasp that, or those of them who can't grasp that. But if we can think further, we can understand like these workings have a purpose. This is their injecting these ideas into society for a reason. They have been satanifying society like forever now. And
I think this book is it. Like this is the precursor. This is influence, like that sequence with Luce about the sexology stuff is after Kinsey and just right before Hefner. So this is leading the groundwork for so much cultural negative change. Like it's off the charts. And the blood red, that's what people don't know. This symbolizes the murder cap that he wears. That's why it's here. So you had like really heavy symbolism in this book.
This is great, man. Thank you so much for bringing this to us. And I love being able to talk to you about this, because you really have, you're able to pick out the real important stuff. And, these things that you brought for us today is great. I'm so glad we have them in the roster of Wake the Dead now. And thank you for joining us. And tell our listeners where we can find you, please. It's
William Ramsey Investigates is the podcast. And then I have 5 books on Amazon, and then 5 documentaries you can see on my Patreon. So I'll send you those links. And
WilliamRamseyInvestigates.com is the main website too, right? Awesome.
Thanks for having me, Sean. It's good to talk with you again.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you, William.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, let me end the stream.